Today we're going to be taking a look at an incredibly strong team for the Open Great League that put me at top 50 in the world and helped me climb over 200 elo in just 9 sets. I actually went from not even being on the leaderboard to number 49 in the world with this team just overnight, which was absolutely wild. Now, what is the team? Well, it's going to be Jumpluff on the lead with Fairy Wind, Aerial Ace, and Acrobatics. As my save swap, I am using Blastoise, and man, I have to apologize to all my Blastoise fans out there because I put a video out early in this season basically saying that I did not think Blastoise was good, and oh my gosh, was I so many levels of wrong. I do apologize for that review. I'm actually going to take that video down because of it's just bad. My assessment was so bad. It's so good on the save swap, and it put in so much work for this team. As my closer, I'm going to be using Shadow Quagsire. This is a pick that I think is actually really underrated right now in the current meta. Nobody's really running it. But there's a lot of ground types that you want Aqua Tail, and there's a lot of things that Stone Edge is going to nuke as well. Plus having Mudshot, it's really good into all the poisons. It's good right now. It's good. Let's go ahead and get into some of these battles. It will be a bit of a longer video since I am going to make sure that I showcase enough to give you a really good understanding of this team. If you do appreciate the longer videos, make sure you leave a like and a comment down below. It really does help the channel grow. I appreciate it. All right, let's go. Jumpluff into a Swalot lead. Absolutely horrible. We will be swapping out into our Blastoise and seeing what my opponent wants to do. Now, opponent is staying in, farming up energy, and tries to make a catch on Guzzlord, but I'm not going to be firing off the Hydro Cannon immediately. Instead, I'm going to be able to go for the Skull Bash there. Skull Bash does pick up a shield. My opponent probably expecting Ice Beam since I'm using Blastoise as a safe swap. We're going to be able to boost our defense and even make a second Skull Bash while tanking that crunch. So Skull Bash going to do a ton of damage to this Guzzlord, put them into the red. My opponent will be able to get the Dragon Tail down. And now my opponent has a decision to make. They can either go for one hard-hitting crunch or try to go for DRE and get 2 Dragon Tails off. Instead, they go for the single crunch, which I think is probably the right play to go for. I do leave with some energy on Jumpluff. I'm going to be coming in now with my Quagsire, and opponent's firing off an Ice Beam here. They're going to be coming in with a Shadow Sableye, and that Ice Beam is starting to make a lot more sense because, well, now they can Shadow Claw down my Quagsire. I want to make sure that I'm either grabbing a shield or taking out this Sableye, so I am going to be full sending the Stone Edge. I do have to invest a shield, which is uncomfortable because of my Jumpluff is getting close to being in Ice Beam range from that Swalot. My opponent does fire off more energy here, which is perfectly fine with me. Going to go ahead and let that Foul Play go down. Foul Play take me out, and now I'm going to overfarm and fire off this Aerial Ace before they're at the Dazzling Gleam or potential Power Gem. Foul Play would not have been lethal, and I know this Swalot's not going to Mudshot down, so I was confident I was able to overfarm there. We have 1 Acrobatics ready to go, fire it off into this Swalot, and remember this Swalot was basically dry on energy. I'm able to make a second Acrobatics, and Jumpluff is going to be able to take out one of its hardest counters in the Open Great League, and that's going to be a GG's. Let's go. All right, into the next one, up against a Guzzlord lead. This is a good lead for Jumpluff because the Fairy Winds are double super effective. You do have to remember that Guzzlord can have access to Sludge Bomb, which would hit pretty hard into Jumpluff. So I am going to go ahead and connect with that Acrobatics and then go for the catch here on my Blastoise. We end up catching a crunch instead, which is perfectly fine. Out comes a Shadow Galarian Weezing, and at this point, you might recognize this team. It's Axon, hit #1 in the world with this combo, and if it is his team, then it's going to be a Lapras in the back. I'm going to go ahead and no shield here, knowing that energy on my Quagsire should be very good. That Guzzlord's very low HP, and I should be able to take it out with even an Aqua Tail. Opponent doesn't build up to a big move. I decide to go ahead and eat the first, and they actually fire off Sludge, which I'm not really sure why, because they do have Brutal Swing, which would hit for neutral. I don't think that Sludge is doing more when it's resisted. I could be wrong. Anyways, there is the Lapras. I'm going to be over farming, watching for the potential catch. Out comes the Guzzlord, and we're just going to get the Fairy Wind down here. This is going to be a Dragon Claw, no big deal. And Lapras comes back in. I'm going to fire off the Acrobatics immediately here. Acrobatics able to pull the shield. You might be thinking, whoa, Chillis, you have Stone Edge. Why would they shield there? Well, if I had Stab Energy Ball, then that's going to be hitting about as hard as the Stone Edge. So I think my opponent was just respecting the Energy Ball there, not wanting themselves to be in Aqua Tail range for my Quagsire. Regardless, I'm going to be able to come in with Quagsire now, fire off the back-to-back Stone Edges. It's not quite enough to take out, but we will be able to Mudshot down. They shouldn't be at the back-to-back Sparkling Arias, and even if they are, I'm just going to get that Mudshot through, and that should be enough to KO. And that's going to be a GG's. Let's go. All right, into the next one. Jumpluff up against a Jumpluff Mirror. I did see a lot of Jumpluff Mirrors, and you're going to see a few of them throughout this video, because each of them did have a bit of a different in-game, so I wanted to go ahead and include a few of them. I always full send the Acrobatics. My opponent actually does let that one go through. It doesn't one-shot, but man, that's a ton of damage. Like, Jumpluff is bulky. Like, so bulky that it doesn't win CMP against anything besides, like, Diggersby. Like, it's crazy bulky. They fire off the Aero Ace there. I'm perfectly happy to eat that. They come out with a Drapion. I fire off the Acrobatics. Reason being is if they eat it, then I can possibly just Mudshot down. And if they shield it, then, well, that's cool. I have a shield, like, we're even shields for my Quagsire. They do fire off the Crunch there and get the defense drop, meaning an Aqua Tail would KO. So I'm going to go ahead and full send the Stone Edge to take out their Drapion. In the back, it's going to be another Lapras. Now, watch what I do here. I build up to the Stone Edge. They know I'm at the Stone Edge, and I bait with the Aqua Tail. I'm never going to make another Stone Edge, but this is still important because I make a second Aqua Tail, and after a few rollouts, that's going to put this Lapras into Skull Bash range or Acrobatics range. That's so key. That is so key in this matchup. My opponent does overfarm. I decide to go ahead and no shield in case they don't have Skull Bash, and they do. That's fine. Big Man Blastoise doesn't really care too much about that Skull Bash, and now they're firing before their next Skull Bash. I know this is only a Sparkling Aria. I know we will survive it. We're going to watch for the catch. My opponent goes a little bit early there, and I come in with my own Jumpluff. Now, Aero Ace, not going to KO. I'm going to fire off my Aero Ace immediately. They were dry on energy. Yes, I could overfarm, but if I overfarm, then I'm just going to be able to do less Fairy Winds into this Lapras. And at the end of the day, they should have already been in Skull Bash range, and a couple more Fairy Winds would just guarantee that. So that's going to be a GG's. Well played to my opponent. Let's go. Let's go. All right, Jumpluff into Claydol. This is a lead that on paper looks amazing, but it can be a bit awkward because the recommended moveset on Claydol now includes Ice Beam, which does hit for double super effective. You don't really want to tank a double super effective Ice Beam on Jumpluff, so I do go ahead and shield this. It wouldn't one-shot, by the way, and there wouldn't really be able to mud slap down, but I'd rather keep some HP on my Jumpluff, knowing that I have two water types in the back, and if there's a grass, I definitely need the HP. They Rock Tomb anyways. I try to catch the Ice Beam here, and I'm unsuccessful because I actually went one Mud Slap early. My bad. They come out with their own Jumpluff. Now, I'm baiting here because if I had Ice Beam, this would, like, you're a Shadow Jumpluff. It would one-shot, right? Very close, at least. Very close. They call it, and I'm shook. I'm shook. But it's fine. We have energy on our Jumpluff. I could overfarm and just fire off the Acrobatics before they fire off their Acrobatics. They throw early. I know this is only going to be an Aerial Ace, so now I can build up to 100 energy and fire off my Acrobatics. I believe that was CMP. It did look like it was CMP. I'm confident that my Jumpluff's going to win almost every CMP, so I go ahead and fire on CMP. They're firing another Aerial Ace here. I decided to go ahead and invest the shield, and then they pivot out into Claydol, and I'm just like, oh, this is awkward. I have to come in with my Quagsire because I need to have a bit of an energy lead against their Jumpluff. If their Jumpluff ends up on my Quagsire and I don't have that energy lead, then, well, Acrobatics is basically one-shotting us, right? So I do get that energy lead. I'm going to be able to outpace now to this Stone Edge. Stone Edge should be enough to take out their jump bluff. And what do they have in the back? It's going to be a Galarian Weezing, but here's what's really nice about the pacing of Quagsire is after that Stone Edge, we only need three Mud Shots to make it to the Aqua Tail, and we can just go for the combo here, fire off the Acrobatics into this Weezing, and that's going to be a GG's. Well played to my opponent. All right, up against the man himself, Home Slice Henry. You might have already seen this battle on his channel because he did showcase this team, and you're right, these teams are very similar. We actually started running them the same day. Neither of us were stealing from each other. The battles you're seeing are from last Friday and Saturday. Actually, that's when these climbs happened. But I do think this team is still really solid. And yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the differences of her teams as we go. I decided to go ahead and no-shield the second one, knowing it could be Acrobatics, but I also knew that my jump bluff would survive. And I'm thinking, if he doesn't show this Acrobatics, I can just farm down with Blastoise, and we'll be fine. He actually shielded it, which is a bit awkward. I'm going to go ahead and stay in. The reason I wanted to stay in was I wanted to verify if he had Energy Ball or Aerial Ace. He fires off the Aerial Ace, so I know this can't be Energy Ball, but since he built up the Acrobatics, I decided to go ahead and show it anyways. That's fine. He does make a catch here onto Lapras. And I'm going to be firing off the Skull Bash. So this is still not a bad spot for me, but I do need to make sure that my Quagsire ends up with energy for the jump bluff. I'm going to go ahead and tank this Aerial Ace. He doesn't build up to the Skull Bash, so we don't have to worry about that. And now notice, I go over 100 energy here. I don't fire because I know I need to get a lot of Mud Shots here on my Quagsire to be able to threaten the jump bluff. We almost get the Mud Shot down. Unfortunately, this Lapras does make one more Sparkling Aria, and it goes down there after firing it off. In the back, going to be a Shadow Alolan Marowak. I go for the first Aqua Tail. I try to pause here. Don't really see any movement. I honestly fired off a bit too quickly, but I don't think the movement was coming through. We just wanted to make sure that the catch wasn't happening there on the jump bluff, and it was not. Still, we're going to make one more Aqua Tail here. I don't think this Aqua Tail mattered. I think that this jump bluff was already in Skull Bash range, and Blastoise is winning that Skull Bash, winning that CMP by a mile. So that's going to be GG's. Well played. Now, let's just real quickly, as I face the world champ here with an absolute core breaker, by the way, like if you see Credilli, I won a couple battles against Credilli, but not in the lead. Not in the lead. It's bad for this team. It's real bad for this team. Anyways, difference between mine and Home Slice Henry's team, right? He has Lapras and not Alolan, Cantonian Marowak in the back. Shadow Marowak in the back. This team has a lot more fast move pressure. In fact, when I built this team, I did not think it was going to work because I thought I was going to be lacking the fast move pressure, but I really wanted to find a team with the jump bluff lead, and I'd actually tried Lapras myself in place of Blastoise, and I didn't like it. I did not like it. So I gave Blastoise a second chance, and I loved it. I think there's just a bit of a difference in play styles. So after you're done watching this video, I actually do encourage you to go watch Home Slice Henry's video to kind of figure out which team feels more right for you, because both teams gave crazy good climbs. I climbed 231 elo in 9 sets. He climbed even more than that in 10 sets. And we both ended up on page 1 of the leaderboard with it, I believe. So both teams work. My team does compensate for the lack of fast move pressure with a lot of hard hitting moves. I mean, Skull Bash from Blastoise still hits very hard. Acrobatics hits everything hard. Stone Edge hits everything hard. In addition to that, we have 3 different fast moves, 3 different types of fast moves. And quite often I found at least one of them is going to be hitting everything for super effective or something for super effective. Now there's exceptions, right? Like Credilli, we don't hit it for super effective with anything. But here's a jump bluff. We could hit it for super effective with rollout. We could get a fast move down if we needed to. Guzzlords, we're hitting them for double super effective damage with the Fairy Winds. If it's Drapion, we're hitting them for super effective with the Mud Shot. The fast move coverage is really nice with this team that I think it does help overcome the lack of fast move pressure, and I think that's why it ended up working out for me. All right, back to the battles. We see another jump left lead. We are able to connect with the acrobatics. I try to snipe with the rollout there. It's not quite enough to take out, but we do lure out a ferret, and man, I'm happy to lure out this ferret right now. I'm happy that my Quagsire is able to avoid it, right? Because Trailblaze would be double super effective, and Blastoise tanks it, and look at this. We even make a Hydro Cannon. So even though we took a super effective move, like this is where Blastoise is just so good, right? We grab a shield regardless. And now I'm going to come in with Jump Left. We're not worried about Swift here. We're not worried. They're at the back-to-back, by the way, so I'm not going to throw the Aerial Ace immediately here. I don't want to lose that CMP. They actually come out with the Jump Left, and I wish I would have thrown the Aerial Ace because I could have taken them out. Instead, I'm going to be forced to eat this Acrobatics. Why? Well, because they still have a Ferret with 5 Sucker Punches of energy, and they're 2 away from the Trailblaze, which, again, would be a lot of trouble for my Quagsire. They come in, they fire off immediately, and at this point, I have to just have faith in myself and have faith in my counts that is only a Swift. We are going to tank it. It is not the Trailblaze. In the back, going to be a Diggersby. We're going to be able to fire off 1 Aqua Tail here. We have the second one ready to go, and we're only 4 mud shots away from the third, I believe. So that's just going to be a GG's well played to my opponent. The importance of knowing your counts. Like, that's when it matters. It's not every single game that knowing your counts and trusting your counts matters. But when it gets you wins like that, that's the kind of stuff that puts you on the leaderboard. That's the kind of stuff that gets you to legend consistently. Now, I can't say I'm perfect with counts. You know, I live stream and I mess up counts all the time on live stream. I mess up counts sometimes in my videos. You know, I'm not able to always just be in a quiet space playing my battles. Life is happening around me. Sometimes I need to engage with things outside of the game, despite the fact that I've started to battle. It happens. But still, knowing your counts, learning the values, and keeping track, it really does come in clutch when you're trying to reach those higher goals. All right. Here's another just PSA of how good Blastoise is. They brought in a fighter, right? Pangoro. We're able to land these Skull Bash and get Switch and then grab both shields, all with Blastoise. And they couldn't come back in with the Clodsire because it'd be taking super effective from the Hydro Cannons. Yeah, man, like, it's so good on the save swap, and I am so sad that I didn't play more of it early in the season. Because, like, I don't know. It's probably going to be my go-to save swap for a while right now. I actually have another team I want to try it with, but we'll save that for later. All right. Lapras leads pretty awkward since we don't have a grass move on our jump bluff. We are going to come in with the Blastoise. I do properly shield up the Skull Bash. I do let this Drapion get to their move first. Honestly, I should have just thrown at bad timing. I could have just thrown the Skull Bash to tank the Crunch better, or even a Hydro Cannon to properly grab a shield. Because look, here I'm going to end up throwing at bad timing anyways. And they know it's only a Hydro, because they got the defense drop and the Aqua Tail was going to KO. I'm going to go ahead and pivot out, keep some HP on my Blastoise, and come in with my Quagsire. I decided to go ahead and no-shield the Crunch. And in the back, it's going to be their own Jump Bluff. So another opponent running the Water plus Jump Bluff core. And I'm going to be able to grab the shield there with the Stone Edge. I'm going to fire off this Aqua Tail. They were almost at 100 energy on their Jump Bluff. I knew they had to fire soon. I was never going to make the second Stone Edge, so we might as well get the chip damage. And that chip damage is going to be putting them into, or at least very close to, Acrobatics range. Now, I just talked about the importance of good counts. I had very bad counts right here. I won't lie. I did not think that they had the Acrobatics. In fact, I thought they were 2 Fairy Winds away from the Acrobatics, which one of them is because after the Aerial Ace, it comes 1 quicker. But the second one, I don't know where it went. I just missed it. I just wasn't keeping good track. So, completely my fault. Is what it is. It's going to cost me this game. It's absolutely going to cost me this game because Drapion comes out. They don't have any energy, but I'm forced to throw immediately. And at this point, I cannot make another acrobatics into their Jumpluff. Like I was thinking, oh, maybe if I catch the aerial ace, then I can make it somehow to acrobatics. The fairy winds don't do anything, but they're doing enough. They're doing enough. So I give my opponent a little jump scare here with the aerial ace, making them question if I was there, but they just have so much energy at this point that they can easily take out my Blastoise. Even an aerial ace would do it, but the acrobatics for sure does it. So GG's, well played. All right, Jumpluff into Galarian Weezing. Pretty bad lead. I did see 3 of these in my last set. I believe my last set was a 4-1. So it's not the end of the world by any means. I'm going to go ahead and no-shield this Sludge. They're going to come out with a Golisopod. This is where it's really nice to have Skull Bash. Skull Bash would do a ton of damage to this Golisopod, and my opponent does respect that damage. I'm going to go ahead, I'm not going to fire off the Hydro Cannon. I'm perfectly fine with letting my Blastoise go down at this point. I'm going to come back in with Jumpluff. I'm going to fire off this Aerial Ace immediately. Or not quite immediately. I'm going to throw it when they're at 9 Shadow Claws. So they're 1 Shadow Claw short of the double X Scissor. Why am I throwing this now? Well, maybe they think it's going to KO and they're going to shield. I know it's not going to KO. I'm fine with taking this next X Scissor and getting a Fairy Wind down, because then I'll be leaving with close to an acrobatics, or actually I leave with the acrobatics, which is just going to hit crazy hard into Weezing. Weezing's not very bulky. So I am going to go ahead and just full send the acrobatics here, puts them into the yellow. Out comes Quagsire and out comes a Swampert. So fellow Mudboy enjoyer, which one's going to be better? Spoiler, like up a shield, definitely Quagsire. Unfortunately, it's not a Shadow Swampert, so it's not going to be like 1 Aqua Tail plus a Mud Shot down, but we're going to be able to outpace to the triple Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail's just cheaper than Hydro Cannon, so we can go ahead and shield this. And here's another example of good counts, right? I know that they're 1 away from their next Hydro Cannon, and I know this Weezing didn't have much energy. It had like 2 Fairy Winds, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and just tank this Brutal Swing, confidently farm up to the back-to-back Aqua Tails, fire off the first one to take out the Weezing, and fire off the second one to take out the Swampert, and that's going to be a GG's. Well played to my opponent. So yeah, I had a ton of fun with this team, and it worked crazy good for me. Crazy good for me. It's going to be, whenever I'm struggling, this is going to be the team that I go back to. In fact, I was running some Regirock yesterday, and it went great for 1 set, and then I took 2 1-4s, and then I went back to this team, and I was able to have a positive set to regain a little bit of elo. So I was really happy with that. So I do recommend this team. Again, watch my video. You already have. Watch Homeslice Henry's video. I'm pointing up here. I don't know if I can link his up here. I don't think I can. So I'll link it in the description. You've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, definitely check that out and then try out one of these teams, because they're really good teams. They're really good. So there you can see I reached expert, and I think I don't have anything else. Okay, cool. All right, I'll wrap it up then. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to my channel members for your support. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and a comment down below to help the channel grow. Thank you all so much. And until next time, this is ChillisFM reminding you to always keep pushing forward.